The first thing you notice is the quiet. Not silence, a battleship is never silent, but the low, familiar hum of steel and steam that means the ship is breathing around you instead of shouting. Somewhere below, a generator murmurs. Somewhere above, a halyard taps against a mast in the trade wind. You lie in your bunk in the forward berthing compartment, listening to 18 other men breathe, and you decide you have 5 more minutes before you have to be a sailor again. It is 0600 on a Sunday, and Pearl Harbor does not know it is about to become a name that outlives every man aboard. You dress in the dark, out of habit, not necessity, dungarees, ball cap, the collar you never quite get to lie right. Your battleship rides at anchor along what the old hands call Battleship Row, her sisters lined up beside her like gray cathedrals, anchor chains taut, awnings rigged against the sun that hasn't yet cleared the Coolau Range. Honolulu is still asleep. The whole fleet is still asleep, in the way that only a Sunday morning in port lets a fleet sleep, half a watch on deck, the rest of you praying for pancakes. The mess deck smells like coffee and grease and someone's aftershave. Too much of it, because Delgado always overdoes it before Liberty. He's telling a story about a girl he met in Waikiki, and Petty Officer Hutchins is pretending not to listen while clearly listening to every word. Someone's radio, tuned low, plays a song you don't recognize. You eat your egg standing up because the benches are full, and you laugh at a joke you'll never remember the words to, only the sound of it. 18 young men laughing in a steel room, certain that today is going to be like every other Sunday. At 07:48, you are topside, sleeves rolled, helping square away a coil of line, when you hear the first aircraft. You don't think much of it. Ford Island runs drills on Sundays sometimes, and the Army flies out of Wheeler and Hickam at all hours. But there is something in the pitch of the engines that makes you look up anyway, a habit your father taught you, back when he still flew. Back before you joined the Navy, you shade your eyes against the climbing sun and see them. Dark shapes low over the water, more than you can count in the second it takes to understand what you're looking at. Someone beside you says, "Those aren't ours." The words don't land yet. Your mind is still back at breakfast, still inside the ordinary shape of a Sunday, and it takes a moment to force its way out of that shape and into this one. Then you see the red circles on the wings, and the moment breaks apart entirely. The first bomb hits Ford Island before you finish drawing the breath to shout a warning. The sound isn't like anything you've trained for. Not a crack, not a boom, but a physical blow that you feel in your sternum before your ears even register it. A column of black smoke stands up from the seaplane hangars like something alive, and then the sky is full of them, dropping low over the harbor, engines screaming, and the general alarm begins to sound through every ship on the row at once, a rising electric wail that means this is not a drill. This was never a drill. You are running before you've decided to run. Men pour out of hatches around you, some half-dressed, some still buttoning shirts, all moving toward battle stations that suddenly feel very far away. A torpedo plane comes in low across the water, so low you can see the pilot's goggles, and it releases its payload 200 yards off the port bow. You watch the wake of it cut toward the hull like something drawn by a terrible, patient hand, and then the ship bucks beneath your feet as it strikes home. The explosion throws you against a bulkhead. For a moment there is only ringing and smoke and the taste of blood where you've bitten your own tongue. Then Hutchins is hauling you up by the collar, shouting words you can't hear, and the two of you are moving again because that is the only thing left to do. Everywhere you look, the harbor is dying. Battleships along the row take hit after hit. Bombs, torpedoes, machine gun strafing runs that stitch across the decks and send men diving for whatever cover the steel offers. A neighboring battleship takes a bomb through her forward magazine, and the sound that follows isn't a sound at all so much as the world tearing. You feel the shockwave in your teeth. When you look again, where a ship used to be there is only fire and black smoke climbing into a sky that has, in 20 minutes, gone from clear blue to something out of a nightmare no one had thought to imagine. You don't have time to grieve it. There are men in the water, oil-slicked, some of them burning, screaming for help in a language that isn't words anymore. and there are men still trapped below decks on your own ship, in compartments already taking water. You go below because that is where you are needed, into passageways, lit only by battle, lanterns, swinging on their cords, air thick with smoke and the copper smell of blood. You find a man named Reyes pinned against a jammed hatch, water already at his knees and rising. You work his legs free with hands that won't stop shaking, and together you drag him away seconds before the compartment floods entirely. Somewhere behind you, a boiler ruptures, and the whole ship groans like something wounded. You carry a boy younger than yourself. You never learn his name. Up through 2 decks of smoke, his arms slung over your shoulders, his breath ragged against your ear, and you don't let yourself think about whether he'll live. You just climb. Topside again, the sun is fully up, indifferent to everything happening beneath it. The sky is crisscrossed with smoke trails and tracer fire. You see a sailor stand at an anti-aircraft gun with no one to load for him, feeding shells alone, firing until the gun overheats. And you understand for the first time what courage actually looks like. Not clean, not certain, just a man doing the next necessary thing because no one else is there to do it. The attack lasts less than 2 hours. It feels like the whole of your life. When the last aircraft finally banks away toward the north and does not return, the silence that follows is worse than the noise. It is a silence made of burning oil and settling ash, of men calling names into the wreckage and getting no answer, of small fires still popping and hissing along the waterline like the harbor itself is exhaling. You stand on a deck slick with water and oil and things you don't let yourself look at too closely, and you watch black smoke rise in a column so thick it blots out the mountains you grew up believing would always be there. You spend the rest of the day pulling men from the water. Some of them live, some of them don't, and you carry the weight of both kinds home with you. The home is a word that means something different now than it did at breakfast. That night, you sit on a bollard at the edge of the burning harbor, hands raw, uniform stiff with salt and oil, and you watch the fires still glowing red against the dark. Somewhere a bugler plays taps for men whose names you'll spend the rest of your life trying not to forget. You think of Delgado's story about the girl in Waikiki, of eggs eaten standing up, of a Sunday morning that promised nothing more than pancakes and sunshine. You are still that same sailor, but you will never be that same person again. The harbor keeps burning long after the sun goes down, and you keep watching because someone has to bear witness to what was lost, and because you know, even now, that you will spend the rest of your days carrying December 7th within you, not as a memory, but as the morning the world changed and never changed back.
Boom 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 boom.